Have you ever felt like you were trapped in an endless maze of love, where every step feels like a hidden trap, waiting to snap? Just when you think you finally understand her, she changes. Like the weather, sudden and unpredictable. Have you ever stayed up all night trying to decode every word she said, every little move she made? Nietzsche, a philosopher often misunderstood as a hater of women, was actually one of the first to see through the heart of modern relationships. He realized a brutal truth. Love isn't the fairy tale you've been told since you were a kid. It's psychological warfare dressed up in sweetness, a subtle power game hiding behind smiles, silence, and softness. This isn't one of those videos that tries to make you a better man in the conventional sense. This is a video about waking up. What you are about to hear may not just shatter your romantic illusions. It might permanently change the way you see the women you once trusted with everything. Nietzsche saw something deeply unsettling, yet undeniably true. The real power of women was never in direct actions or assertive words. Instead, it lies hidden in soft charm, heavy silences, and quiet tears. Women don't need brute force. They can shape a man's decisions with the smallest emotional shifts. You might think you're doing things out of love from a place of sincerity. But stop and take a closer look. In reality, you're unconsciously reacting to emotional cues, carefully set up like a psychological chessboard. A sudden cold shoulder, a distant look, or a long pause. These aren't random. They're signals. Signals designed to guide your behavior without you even knowing. You're following a script, one you didn't write, and one you can't even see. And here's the harsh truth. This isn't deep love. It's psychological manipulation. Subtle, powerful, and almost impossible to detect. Nietzsche warned that if you don't wake up, you'll stay trapped forever in the emotional maze she built around you. A maze so perfectly crafted that you'll believe you're choosing when in fact, you're being led. Many men confuse subtle manipulation with true love, believing that every sacrifice they make is a beautiful symbol of loyalty and sincerity. So they start giving up what matters most, the passions that once made them feel alive, the friendships that made them strong, even their own identity and personal dreams. And they do it all with the innocent belief that they're showing the purest form of love, that their self-sacrifice is the ultimate sign of devotion. Nietzsche called this painful process emotional domestication, a slow, calculated erosion of the self. Step by step, you lose yourself trying to preserve someone else's happiness. You think you're getting closer, building something deeper. But what you're really doing is erasing everything that made you who you are. One day, you look in the mirror, and the man staring back at you feels like a stranger. You don't recognize him anymore. That is the most painful moment, when you realize you've been living not as yourself, but as someone constantly trying to meet someone else's expectations. Who are you really, when everything you do is just to keep someone else happy? Women aren't born manipulative. They're shaped by a society that teaches them from a young age that their emotions are the center of the universe, and that care and attention from men are something they deserve by default. From childhood, they're told through fairy tales that the prince must always rescue the princess. Men must always protect, comfort, and meet their emotional needs. So, as they grow up, women often develop psychological strategies. Clever, quiet, and deeply effective. They don't shout or command. They don't fight for power directly. Instead, they wield real influence through silent tension, a fleeting, sad look that triggers guilt or moments of fragile vulnerability that make you want to shield them. This is what Nietzsche warned us about. Soft power. It doesn't need loud words or brute force. yet it can guide your emotions and decisions without you realizing it. As a man, you're conditioned to believe that her happiness is your ultimate responsibility. And over time, you slowly become an emotional servant, fully convinced that your sacred duty is to keep her smiling and satisfied, even if that means losing yourself in the process. This kind of emotional control is a parasitic loop, a mutual dependency that feels deep and meaningful but quietly drains you. You used to think it was love that feeling needed made you important. And she felt completely safe, knowing you'd always be there to cater to her emotional needs. But Nietzsche delivered a sharp warning. Beneath that calm surface is a dangerous trap. When a relationship is built on emotional dependence, both people slowly become weaker. You lose your individuality, your sense of self, your inner strength, sacrificed bit by bit just to feel validated. What once made you proud, your independence, your identity, your drive, gets washed away by the constant need for approval. Eventually, all that remains are two blurred versions of who you used to be, people who've forgotten how to stand on their own. Nietzsche wanted you to see this clearly. A real relationship should lift you higher, not pull you down. If you keep sinking into this codependent model, you're not just losing her. You're losing your one chance to become the strongest, most independent version of yourself. The only real way out of this emotional spiral isn't trying to change others. It's overcoming yourself. And that journey is hard, but it's the most liberating thing you'll ever do. Nietzsche called it self-overcoming, when you grow so strong that you no longer need validation. Not from friends, not from society, not even from the woman you love. That's when you stop reacting the way people expect you to. You don't flinch at her sudden coldness. You don't scramble to fix things just because she looks sad. And in that moment, when you stand firm in the storm of her emotions without being pulled in, that's when the mask of the relationship falls away. You see it clearly now. All this time, you've been a pawn in an emotional chess game. But you're not angry. You're not bitter. You simply step away from the board. Calm, clear, and more solid than ever. Because now you know something most people never figure out. True freedom doesn't come from someone else's love. It comes from not needing their love to feel whole in the first place. The savior complex is a sweet trap wrapped in moral nobility. But in reality, it's a golden cage that tightens around you every single day. You believe you were born to heal her. The wounded, unstable, lost girl drowning in pain that never got fixed. You think love means sacrifice, that taking on her darkness so she can smile again is noble. But Nietzsche rips that illusion apart. She doesn't want healing. She wants you hooked on being her hero. Every breakdown she has pulls you deeper into a story where you play the great rescuer who can never walk away. Every tear, every burst of anger, every long silence draws you further into the drama. And here's the brutal truth. You're not saving anyone. You're just addicted to being needed, to the chaos, to the emotional highs of temporary repair. Don't confuse compassion with emotional slavery. You're not her savior. You're just a man who got trapped in a role he never questioned. And if you keep playing that role, you'll spend your entire life acting in a play that never ends. Nietzsche introduced a revolutionary idea of love. To love without dissolving. It's a kind of love where you don't have to lose yourself just to keep someone beside you. It's when you don't melt into the other person, don't become emotionally dependent, but still hold on to your identity, your clarity, and your psychological independence. In this kind of love, you're not driven by fear of loneliness or the urge to fill a void inside. You love because you freely choose to, and so does the other person. You don't need each other to survive. You stand side by side like two strong, independent mountains, shining on each other without needing to consume one another. This isn't coldness. It's deep respect for each other's boundaries. It's the harmony of two whole beings unwarped by control or emotional craving. When you reach this kind of love, you stop fearing the loss of someone because you've stopped betting your identity on them. Only when both people hold on to their inner freedom can love become a space to grow, not a place where you disappear. When you finally stop and ask yourself, why am I always the one who has to fix, soothe, and carry her emotions? That's the moment you start opening the door to real freedom. Nietzsche never told you to stop loving. He urged you to love like a grown man. Someone who no longer plays therapist in a one-sided emotional game. When you shift your energy away from pleasing others and start investing it in your own growth, the women who once used emotion to control you begin to lose their grip. But because manipulation only works when you still crave approval, but now you don't need it anymore, and that's when something powerful happens. You start attracting a whole new kind of woman, someone who's also doing her own inner work. She's not here to possess you. She's here to build with you. This isn't a relationship built on guilt and obligation. It's the harmony of two independent souls raising each other up. And when you're no longer stuck serving someone else's emotional roller coaster, you finally create the space for real love to show up. The kind that doesn't control, but walks beside you freely and fully. Nietzsche's idea of the Übermensch in love isn't some cold, unfeeling man. It's a man who has transcended the need to be validated, needed, or rescued. He doesn't love to fill a void, and he doesn't choose a partner out of fear of being alone. He loves as an act of complete freedom. Free from emotional weakness, free from the urge to control or be controlled. He knows that only when he is whole and grounded within himself can love stop being a battlefield of pain and dependency. This man loves from a place of strength, where he doesn't chase, doesn't fold under tears or tantrums. It's the strength of someone who has mastered his own mind, someone who has stepped out of the emotional games most men are still trapped in. His presence becomes so centered, so solid, that no form of manipulation works on him anymore. That's what true freedom looks like, not needing to be loved to feel worthy. And from that place, he can finally love, fully, peacefully, without ever losing himself.